You don't have to get like a Maine hair fern or a Boston fern. You can get something a little bit more hardier and easier, especially if you're a beginner fern parent. Today we are going to be going over the 5 best beginner ferns. Hello, I'm Lauren, that awkward plant girl. Welcome back to my channel. It's so good to see you guys. Thank you guys for popping in. First one up is a Staghorn Fern. These plants are usually found on trees. They're epiphytic. They like it to be warm and tropical. Think Florida conditions. They like that higher humidity. They'll actually spread out and encompass tree branches, and they'll use these ugly little brown things called shield fronds. They're not dying fronds on them. They're actually needed and necessary. They protect and keep all of the moisture and help the plants absorb nutrients as things fall in there and break down under them. Really, really cool plant. You can actually see right down here at the base a new one is forming. So you don't ever want to mess with these if you don't have to. You may end up breaking them a little bit if you end up repotting, like it happens. They will recover and they'll grow a new frond over it. They're constantly growing new ones over them, and that's how you know that they're in good living conditions. Even though you see this is a yellow leaf with a crispy tip. I totally didn't water this plant, forgot about it, so it got a crispy tip. That's what happens. But they get bigger and bigger. Eventually they can get like antlers on them depending on the species. They're often mounted. You'll see them mounted on wood boards and whatnot. I think the mounting of them and putting them in kokedamas kind of makes them a little bit more difficult to care for, honestly. I know there's lots of people out there that disagree with me because they like to just pop it off the wall and put it in the sink and soak it and call it good. I keep it in a pot and I literally just water it. I just cash pot it and I just water it, and then I don't have to have a humidifier around it. My ambient humidity is always around 50%. Sometimes it's more, depending on what I have going on and what type of year it is. But for the most part, it's very, very easy care. I don't have to water it that often. The shield fronds will trap the humidity and it makes it a very easy care plant. When they're mounted on the wall, they dry out so much faster because the ambient humidity is less for the most part, and then there is a lot more airflow drying things out. And then it's also hard to retain moisture because there's multiple sides that it's going to be hit from. Also, heat rises, so the hotter it gets, the faster it's going to evaporate off your plant and the faster your plant's going to dry out. So these guys like to stay anywhere between like 50 and 80 degrees. They can get warmer, they can get colder. They're very, very chill plants though. Next up, we have the Astral Gem Fern. This one is super cute. These, they give you that fern vibe. They've got the little unfurling cuties over here, the little unfurling fronds. You've got another one back under here. Very cool. I love this freaking plant. What's wonderful about it though is that it is thicker. It's really thick frond. It almost feels like a succulent. If you feel it, it kind of feels kind of plasticky, honestly. Like if I didn't know this was a real plant, didn't see it actively growing on a regular, and I just felt it for the first time, I would think that it was a plastic plant because it's very thick, very chunky, very succulent, but it still gives you the fern vibes. But because it's a thicker leaved plant, you can just water it and leave it for a longer period of time. They still like their humidity. They'll still get their crispy tips if they don't have that good old 50% humidity or so, but they are more likely to be able to hold on to that moisture. They can also handle a little bit more light. Both of these ferns, the Platycerium can handle direct light. They love the sun. They're in Florida conditions. These guys, they like an indirect bright light, but they'll settle for like morning light. You can give them brighter light, but just try not to give them too much light. If you notice burning, just pull them back. You'll see little spots on them, and that'll be the sign. Next up, we have the rabbit's foot fern. Now, this one is very controversial because some people absolutely freaking love it, and some people absolutely freaking hate it. And the reason is these lovely little rhizomes that they have. It triggers people's like spider phobia or trichomophobia or something like that. I don't remember what it's called. Word here, okay? It triggers this. So I won't be showing you super close-ups of it or anything because I don't want you to freak out. But if you get a chance to see one of these guys in person, like, you can pet their rhizomes. They're really soft, really fuzzy. They look like little rabbit's feet or little spider feet. Super cute. Their foliage is thinner though, so they need a higher ambient humidity. They cannot handle as much direct light as the other two. But their rhizomes hold on to a lot of moisture. They're thicker. So you can water these plants and just leave them be. Like, this is another one that I have cache potted. So you don't have to be constantly on top of this plant and watering it. I honestly just wait till I start to see what's going on right now with a little bit of browning on the edges. If it doesn't get watered, it might lose a frond or two. And then from the rhizomes, as they creep out and grow, you'll see all these new little fronds popping out. You'll see little green on the edges of the little rhizomes, and that's them growing. That's good sign, healthy. Even if you forget to water it, it's okay. It'll just die back a little bit, but it always comes back because these rhizomes will hold on to a lot of moisture. So even if, like, you lose all the fronds and all you have left is the rhizomes, they'll just pop up with new ones. It'll be fine. No biggie. Next on the list is a lemon button fern, not a button fern. Button ferns are very, very difficult to take care of. They're beautiful, amazing. They like high humidity though. They're terrarium ferns. They're not just chill in your house ferns. Absolutely not. If you want just chill in your house, easy care fern, then you want to go lemon button fern. The leaf shape is a little bit different. The lemon button fern has very cute, tiny little leaves that are scallop shaped on their fronds. They also have like these little dots on them that make them seem kind of more lacy and feminine looking, more delicate. It's just a really cool, interesting plant. Not something that I've seen on very many plants, honestly. I can't even name another plant that looks similar to it. But their leaves are a little bit more thick. They're not as thick as an astral gem fern, but they're definitely more thick than a maiden hair fern. And their stems are thicker too, so that they can hold on to more moisture. They're also very, very hardy. Like, mine is a little cranky because I unpotted it and I tore it all apart and I took off some little bits and pieces off the side to plant in other terrariums, and then I just kind of shoved it back in its pot and I'm like, deal with it. And it will deal with it. It might lose a frond or two. If the humidity is a little low, then you'll get crispy edges or crispy tips on the very, very tips of the fronds, especially if they're new and unfurling. The same thing will happen if you let it dry out way too much, but it can handle drying out. I have mine directly potted in ceramic. You can cache pot it if you want. You can do your hydroponics with it if you want. I like to use a forest mix for my ferns, and putting it in a ceramic pot for that particular fern works out really, really well. This is another one that you want to stick directly in the morning light. So if you have a window that you get direct morning light in or northern light in, it's going to be perfect. This plant is going to pop off like crazy. Just remember to water it occasionally. It's not a high maintenance plant. None of these plants are high maintenance plants. I know ferns get a really, really bad rap of being really picky. They're diva plants. They die super easily. Like, all of these are easy care plants. You can let them dry out to some extent. Just make sure that you soak them and super, super water them. Keep the humidity good. Super, super water them when you do water them. Don't just add a couple little sprinkles of water on top of it and call it good, especially if the soil is hydrophobic. Honestly, I prefer to use a forest mix with mine. The only thing that you really have to super adjust is the humidity with ferns, depending on what particular ferns you're growing. These are all fairly low maintenance, low humidity ferns. They can all handle around 50%. Give them the direct morning light. Staghorn Fern can handle a little bit more. They're a really underrated species, but honestly, ferns have survived the frickin' dinosaurs. Ferns are older than humans are. It's absolutely insane. And then here we are saying that they're weak little ferns and they can't handle anything. Like, they're an amazing, amazing thing. They are amazing plants. They really are. And they're definitely underrated. And I think that's just because there's not enough information out there about them and not enough people speaking out about them. So definitely, if you get a chance to try one of these, please, please, please give it a shot. You don't have to get like a Maine hair fern or a Boston fern. You can get something a little bit more hardier and easier, especially if you're a beginner fern parent. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!